I think the biggest thing that most people assume is that we have some mystical voodoo power. Nothing mystical about anything we do. What you do, what I do, what the behavior panel does, it is really mundane repetition. And you said it, reps. If you do it enough times, it becomes second nature. And that's good or bad stuff.
Right.
If a person's doing bad things often enough, that becomes second nature. And, I always say everything we know today, we've always known about people. There's nothing new.
Right.
And there are lots of adages and proverbs and cultures that tell you that, like eyes of the mirror, windows of the soul, that kind of stuff. So give yourself permission, and give yourself permission to look and to use these skills. But as importantly, give yourself permission to fail, because you're going to fail. You're going to be wrong, and be wrong. It's okay. If you're never wrong, then you're not growing, you're not learning. Just be careful how you condemn people with it. But if you fail, you'll learn from that more than you will by being right every time, by far.
So where should someone go, and what should they do to start getting some reps? We got a lot of people in our audience that are like your audience, massively into human behavior. They're into body language. They're into just understanding the human condition in general. What can they do to get reps in?
Yeah. And what I love about what you're doing, Robin, is you're bringing people from lots of different places. I mean, all the experts you bring in, and look, there are lots of ways to be an expert in what we're talking about in behavior, which is what I love the most about what we do. I always say, pick one thing. And there's an old saying, if you get good at one thing, you'll miss all the rest. I'm not saying get one thing and do it for the rest of your life, but do one thing until it's second nature. One thing.
That's good.
And I use a very simple method, emblematic gestures. I say there are 5 real pieces of body language you need to learn to pay attention to and look for change. And those are emblematic gestures. So G, and that means I hold a thumb up and everybody knows what it means, or an okay sign, which God knows what it means these days. Right. Or anything else. It can be anything, but it has to be universally understood, and every receiver has to understand what you're saying. It's a thought within a movement.
I like it.
Easy enough. Gesture, emblematic gesture. Illustrators. Everybody knows what this is. I'm driving home my point. That's an illustrator. And for me, that's a simple way to look. It can be that. It can be this. It can be my face. It can be anything that drives home punctuation to my thoughts. So gestures, illustrators. The next I'll cover is regulators. And I use this middle finger because it'll stop a conversation.
Right.
And that's what a regulator does, is control the conversation. Speed up, slow down, stop, enough. All those things are discernible. You can pay attention. Some of them are cultural. Middle East, I wouldn't do this.
Right.
That kind of thing. But depends on where you're at. But they're all cultural, suppressing, controlling conversation. So gestures, illustrators, regulators. Adapters, I use the ring finger, because an adapter is a comforting move or a loss of nervous energy move. Yeah. Right. And there's tons of them. And if you are in a relationship and you don't know yours, ask the other person in the relationship. They know. Yeah, because you do it all the time. So it's easy to remember if you got a ring. So I always say gestures, illustrators, regulators, adapters, and finally barriers. And if I put my hands both in front of me, that's giving me space. And then there's a lot to learn past that. I may illustrate from that space.
Right.
But I want you to get in your head those 5 pieces. If you can. Now you got a pattern. I'm a mnemonic device guy. I'm sure you can tell.
Yeah.
But you got a pattern to carry around. And what I would tell you to do is to pick one. Doesn't matter which one. Put it on an index card, put it in your pocket, put it on your phone, put it in your pocket. And for a day, 5 days, 2 years, however long it takes you, pay attention and be able to classify those. Don't try to understand what they mean at all. Right. It's not important.
Just observe.
And when you get to the point where they're second nature, you'll go, why did he move his left eye that way? Now you got, that is a second nature thing. Now you're looking for deviation from baseline. And if you can do that, everything will start to fall together for you, because you're starting to see change in pattern. And that's all we do. It's boring. It's mundane. It's repetition. It's repetition. It's repetition.